Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us today during our webinar session at CCW Digital. Today we are joined by Romel from Inspiro to talk a little bit more about scaling an agile workforce during massive disruption.
Thank you, Sandy, and warm greetings from the Philippines. I'm Romel Regino, and I head Global Sales and Operations for Inspiro. I'm also the Treasurer of the Contact Center Association of the Philippines. In between managing a homegrown global organization with 11,000 employees and representing the interests of the industry, I'm a restaurateur as well, managing a chain of Japanese restaurants across Metro Manila with a childhood friend in our lives. Today, I'll be sharing my country and company's experience from this unprecedented global event that's dramatically changed how we live, work, and play. Today's topic explores how we prioritize the needs of our thousands of agents so they can continue to create meaningful, memorable, and positive experiences for our partners and their customers. Our agenda will cover the following. How did the Philippine contact center industry face its challenges? With over 1 million agents impacted by the crisis, what priorities and tools were set by contact center companies like Inspiro? With the government's push for us to work from home and the need to accelerate to warp speed to make it happen, how did we keep our employee culture intact despite being physically dispersed? Looking at our client partners, whose businesses are likewise faced with their own set of challenges, how did we mitigate risks and minimize disruptions for them? And finally, with the world facing its new normal, what are the learnings and opportunities that we see for the contact center industry? Before we delve into the topic, let's have a quick look at the Philippine BPO industry today. The country is a preferred BPO destination, hosting a numerous big names outsourcing their voice and non-voice operations to the Philippines. We have the likes of Telstra, AIG, Chevron, JP Morgan Chase, IBM, Citigroup, Wells Fargo, Facebook, PayPal, and Dish, among those with solid operations in the country. North America constitutes 70% of the market we serve, while Europe, Australia, New Zealand, and the rest of Asia-Pacific region compose the rest. Top 3 reasons why the country is a favorite BPO destination: it's quality, cost-effectiveness, and reliability. A quick look at the numbers. There are more than 850 BPO companies currently operating in the Philippines, 67% or nearly 500 of which are contact center companies, earning us the title, the world's contact center capital. The industry currently employs 1.5 million personnel and contributes $23 billion of revenue, representing 60% of the Philippines' overall economic growth. So, when Metro Manila, the center of Philippine business, went on lockdown due to the threat of the virus, the Philippine government recognized us as an essential industry, thus allowed to continue operations during the lockdown. But because of restrictions such as the total ban on transportation and citywide curfew, contact center companies operated on a very limited capacity of 10 to 30%. Standard business continuity plans for contact centers dictate that in case of disruptions, call volumes are diverted to BCP sites in unaffected locations. However, due to the global reach of the pandemic, there actually were no unaffected locations. With the implementation of state and countrywide lockdowns, the Philippine BPO industry was thrust into unfamiliar territory. Overnight, contact centers were faced with two-pronged challenge. First, ensuring the safety of our employees, and second, minimizing disruptions to client operations. So how did the contact center industry respond? First, we activated work-at-home capabilities with our employee safety and well-being as our #1 priority. Allowing employees to work from home was the best way to protect them from possible exposure while ensuring business continuity. The industry followed a blended approach, where a skeleton workforce, which comprises 10 to 15% of our personnel, remains on site, while the majority, 30 to 40% work from home. Anyone not comfortable going to the office was allowed to stay home. For those who opted to work on site, they were given a choice whether they preferred to stay on site or temporarily stay at nearby housing accommodations, where we shuttled them to and from work. The remaining employees, unable to work for various reasons, were extended financial assistance. Today, the contact center industry has deployed 58% of its on-site agents to work from home. For Inspiro, we continue to expand the deployment of home-based agents with a goal of having 70% of employees working from home by June 2020. Second, we established new protocols following World Health Organization and government guidelines. These are best practices adopted by all contact center companies. First is mandatory wearing of masks. Second, frequent and regular disinfection of facilities, including common areas and individual workstations. For Inspiro, we schedule disinfection and sanitation 3 times a day and deep cleaning at night. Third, we strictly enforce social distancing with reconfigured site floor plans to comply with 1 to 2 meter spacing. Floor markers and visual cues were installed to delineate the required physical distancing. Fourth, we discourage face-to-face meetings and gatherings for employees and clients, and we transition all meetings using online collaboration tools. Fifth, temperature check for anyone entering the facility. Sixth, provision of an isolation room for employees who registered temperatures of 37.5 degrees Celsius and above, and who will then be attended by our clinic personnel for further tests. Specifically for Inspiro, we strengthened COVID-19 response protocols through partnership with our healthcare providers and major hospitals near our areas of operation. So from work from home, establishing new protocols from the government and the World Health Organization, we also partner with clients in improving their CX resiliency. We proactively work with clients in improving BCP response, and we have helped the majority of our clients, including those with no previous work-at-home footprint, to transition from 100% brick and mortar to a blended work-at-home delivery model. Our BCP response calls for setting up work from home within 48 hours. Specifically for Inspiro, one of the strongest differentiators is our response is malasakit. Malasakit is a Filipino word which means genuine care and concern. And because malasakit is ingrained in us as an organization, we put a premium in making a difference in this time of uncertainty. Beyond serving our clients and their customers, we recognize our responsibility and contribution as a social citizen. For us, it is not just a call transaction. It is making a difference in this unprecedented time. For our airline accounts, it is helping stranded passengers secure flights to get home. For our telecommunication clients, it's about enabling and restoring internet connectivity, knowing the importance of staying connected. For our media and entertainment accounts, it's facilitating new subscriptions and solving service disruptions so people stuck at home can continue to access a wide variety of content. Our agents really take great pride in the things we do. Our clients and their customers feel the difference, and all the compliments pouring in make all our people's sacrifices worth it. As I've said, but can't overemphasize, the prime factor in our global response was our people. With the uncertainties brought about by the pandemic, it was crucial that we consider the general well-being of our employees. I shared earlier that our goal is to provide meaningful, memorable, and positive experiences. And to be able to do that, we needed to take care of our employees first. So we conducted an employee survey on their status and experiences during this time of the pandemic. The survey touched on 3 areas: their physical, mental, and social well-being, which helped us identify plans and activities for improvement. as well as identify tools and resources that we need to prioritize to maximize the performance. Here are the highlights of our employee survey. 23% of employees prefer to work from home. 30% said they prefer to work on-site, despite the difficulties of getting to the office, because they prefer the comfortable work environment the office provides. 47% are neutral and can work either on-site or from home. As to their physical well-being, employees feel they are physically fit at present because they get enough sleep and do not experience stress from traffic and commuting to work. As to their mental well-being, those working from home say it is sometimes difficult to concentrate on work because of distractions. As to their social well-being, employees expresses that there is an increasing feeling of loneliness due to the prolonged lockdown. Along with their general well-being, we also asked our employees who are working from home about their specific challenges, as well as the advantages they've experienced. Here are the responses. For the challenges, predominant keywords were issues related to internet connection, communication, and access to tools. For the advantages, these phrases came out on top. Time for self, comforts of home, longer sleep time, and money saved. Given this feedback from our frontline employees, our support teams proactively set up programs to address our agents' needs, promoting their general welfare, fostering collaboration and productivity, and keeping our community connected and engaged. Our IT team spearheaded the logistics and setup required for our work-from-home program. As soon as we get the go signal from a client to transition to work from home, we have a 48-hour window to deploy workstations and connect agents to our secure business platform. For agents with no stable connection, we also assist them in securing the right internet plan for their use. For those working on site, our workplace solutions team took care of the mobility arrangements, delivering employees from their homes to office and bringing them back, as well as making sure that all safety and security protocols are strictly followed on site. Utilizing an intelligent HR collaboration platform, our intranet and social media assets, our HR and communication teams designed programs to keep our virtual community engaged. We conduct virtual town halls for our leaders to stay in touch with our employees. We have interactive games. We celebrate employees' achievements and milestones. We encourage clients to send their messages to our employees. And we even jump to the TikTok bandwagon for fun and relevance. It is really the entire organization working together, anticipating the needs of our employees so that we can take good care of them as they take care of our employees and their customers. Now that we've shown the view from our end, allow me to share how it's going for some of our partners whom we've been working with for nearly 2 decades now. For our first case study, allow me to introduce a solid partner and a good friend, Ray Rivadelo. Originally from Australia, Ray has over 25 years experience in telecommunications, with over 20 years in Telstra Australia. He was expatriated to the Philippines in 2009 to head and run Telstra's offshoring call center program. Ray was able to create over 15,000 jobs in the Philippines. Upon finishing his assignment and his passion to stay in the Philippines, Ray opted not to return to Sydney and found his calling in Smart, where he ended up Smart's customer care for 5 years. Today, he has branched out across PLDT Home and Enterprise to lead across multiple departments in contact center, customer experience, and churn management. Our scenario when the lockdown happened in March, we were in the midst of preparing for our seasonal ramp for a US-based floral and gourmet gifts retailer for 4 of our global locations, as well as piloting for a new retail account in one of our Philippine provincial sites. We're probably one of the few companies whose hiring continues even while on lockdown. A good story indeed. But from a brick-and-mortar setup, we had to proceed with a work-from-home arrangement for these 2 accounts. Allow me to share with you our experience in scaling a workforce during a massive disruption. Our second case study is for a leading US-based floral and gourmet gift retailer and distribution company. They were one of the first retailers to use a 24/7 toll-free number and to adopt e-commerce for their business. In a year, they have three seasonal runs: Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, and Christmas. For this year, the client divided the volume between three of their providers, Inspiro being one of them. Some preparations usually start in March, peaking at least 2 weeks before Mother's Day. With the lockdown announced mid-March, we adjusted our strategies to include 100% virtual recruitment using social media and deploying a hybrid delivery model with 25% working on site and 75% working from home, a first in our 11-year partnership. Our initial foray into virtual talent sourcing turned out to be more successful than we had hoped. For a target of 1,600 hires, we received 15,000 applications. For the volume of hires that we were processing, we tripled our seasonal talent acquisition team. We also streamlined the process of multiple filtering, assessments, and screening of applicants to conform with the virtual setup. Since a lot of folks were out of work because of the lockdown, the caliber of the hires we were getting turned out to be quite impressive. On the training front, it was all about observing, solutioning, and executing new action plans. The training team adjusted how they conduct their classes, following the virtual setup and rallying trainees to finish each project. Seasoned operational leaders were pulled in to coach and work closely with the new hires, who our lead trainers focused on the overall prep work. All told, the client was happy and we met our capacity. We were asked to take in more than 50% of the volume of calls, got an extension, and retained more seasonal hires due to demand, as the volume of transactions for the client went up by 40%. So how did we manage to keep our agents performing at their peak? We attribute the success to three things. One, a culture of fun and performance, where client and Inspiro incentives are given to those who are meeting and exceeding targets. Two, high level of engagement among our internal support across the enterprise, talent acquisition, learning, operations, workforce management, QA, and IT. And of course, number three, strong support from the client to keep our agents motivated. I believe that companies are still determining how we will work in the short and long term. So what are the opportunities that we are looking at? First, we see an increase in offshoring activity. Because of the looming recession, companies will definitely look for ways to be cost efficient, and offshoring will be part of the plan. We expect a potential windfall for the Philippines, a significant investment from Japanese, US, and European countries moved out of China due to their economic distancing policy. Second, while the industry will continue to capitalize on skilled talents, we also foresee accelerated initial investments in AI, robotics process automation, and virtual agents, as well as new, longer-term opportunities emerging in business process automation and intelligent self-service initiatives to save cost. Today, companies like us in the Philippines have already made investments toward broader use of online collaboration tools to increase efficiency and data security technology as more people work from home, and performance management tools to continuously engage employees and ensure productivity with the shift to work from home. With this scenario in mind, we see the full integration of humanity and technology, all to better customer experience. Third, the contact center industry will adopt new models to meet new demands. From a 100% brick-and-mortar delivery model, more and more companies will follow a hybrid blended approach, where a percentage or even a majority of agents will be home-based. Finally, opportunity to strengthen people-first culture. With all the advancement in AI and technology, customer experience will always remain a people-centric business. At Inspiro, we've always espoused malasakit, but now more than ever, this situation has given us including our clients, the chance to show our people that the company truly cares for them. For providers like Inspiro, expect behavioral changes where business continuity or resiliency planning is not just a response to a disruption, but an integral part of daily operations. It also makes sense to look at your client's contingency plans and see their plan as well, so you can prepare for your business and your operations. You may need to exercise flexibility, and you may need to align your strategies and your business to aid your client. Now is the time to help each other out, and it's an important window to demonstrate your commitment to your client so that when the pandemic is behind us and things improve, they appreciate you more. This is an opportune time to cement the relationship with your clients further. In managing an increasing number of people who are working from home, we believe that trust should be measured. Along with other metrics such as productivity, scheduled adherence, and sharing random screenshots, trust should be part of how we measure our agents' performance. Trust will now be included as a qualifier for incentives as a metric in our balanced scorecard. Finally, a quick look at who we are. We are the outsourcing specialists with over 30 years in the business. We have access to 32,000 customer champions across 51 delivery centers globally. Our parent company is Relia of Japan, a subsidiary of the Mitsui Group of Companies. And that's what I've got for you today. Thanks for allowing us to share our experience in prioritizing the needs of our agents, who are our frontliners at this time of massive disruption. And things settle, and if you happen to be in Manila, please reach out. I'd love to host you at Inspiro and Shinsen. Maraming salamat, and stay safe and positive.
Yeah, so thank you for listening to the earlier discussion. And this time around, I am joined by one of our big clients and a very good friend of mine. He is the Vice President and Head of Enterprise Customer Experience and Care on the PLDT Enterprise. He is a returning Filipino who migrated in Australia since age of 5 years old. He has over 25 years in telecommunications and over 20 years in Telstra Australia. He was expatriated in the Philippines in 2009 to run Telstra here. And during that tenure, he was able to create over 15,000 jobs in the Philippines. And upon conclusion of his assignment, he found his passion to stay in the Philippines. So he opted not to return to Sydney and joined a prestigious company called Smart. And he has headed the customer care there for 5 years. And that's where we actually crossed paths and, became really, really good friends. So now he has a much expanded role, and he oversees now the PLDT Home and Enterprise, leading multiple departments in contact center, customer experience, and churn management. To all the attendees, let's all welcome my good friend, Ray Rivatello. So,
thanks, Ramel, and good evening, everyone. It's great to be here today.
All right. Ray, again, bro, thanks again for joining us. So I'll shoot some of our discussion, our discussion. Just share with us some scenarios you were faced when this enhanced quarantine was actually declared.
Yeah, well, it like everyone else, it took us by surprise in terms of the whole impact of the pandemic. And I guess one of the first things that we had to reconcile with and realize was, making sure that our people came first. So our philosophy was to protect our people. And during that pandemic, the first thing we did was make sure that the the people underneath us as well as their families were all safe. And once we're able to establish that, the next priority that we had was really on, well, what is our continuity planning going to look like? What's our operations going to be? In particular, as we moved into the quarantine, what are the components of the operations that were critical for us, and what are the operations that we were able to put on the back burner, basically? And one of the things that we really had to invoke very rapidly, especially with your team, Ramel, is the fact that separate to the people, what are the things that we need to operate some level of continuity of our operations, in particular trying to maintain some level of customer experience, and how do we prioritize the customer during the time of crisis. And one of the things that we ended up looking at was that there were a lot of things that we were doing on a daily basis that weren't as critical, and it made us reflect the fact that the new normal is going to be different, because a lot of the things that we do today are not that essential when you look at it from a perspective of people and customer. So yeah.
All right. Good. I think we're definitely in the same approach there, where when we got hit, definitely our priority was really the safety of our employees. So Ray, in terms of navigating these challenges, how did your company, PLDT Group, did navigate these challenges that's brought about by the lockdown?
Yeah. So with our people first priority, one of the first things we looked at was an intimate assessment of each individual, right? So we looked at it from the mindset of what's their health status, and trying to understand what are the parameters that define whether or not they work from home, whether or not they stay in and get locked down, or whether or not they are mobile enough to on-site and depart back to home on a daily basis. And there were certain things that we had to consider from a risk standpoint, so that we were able to bucket our people into high, medium, and low. Do they have preconditions, for instance? Were they living with a person that was susceptible to illness, like elderly and so forth? Or, they had young kids, or they had their spouse recently give birth, for instance. So we're able to assess our people on that level, and then from that determine which ones were able to work from home versus not. And those that we deemed as high risk had to work from home, and we needed to make sure as a prerequisite that they had the tools necessary at home to be able to function accordingly. So that was one element. The other element was that, again, reviewing the critical aspects of our operations that were deemed essential versus not. And so, because as we moved towards lockdown, our workforce was severely impacted, as you know. So with the minimal workforce that we had to determine what are the priorities that was most important to all of us, including the customer. So during this time, we actually prioritized on servicing our customer as opposed to selling our customers. So these were, for our customers, it's all about who needed the help most. How do we ensure that they had their service running during this pandemic? Making sure that any of the follow-ups or the trouble tickets or anything to do with service-related issues and faults were the priority of our organization. Yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
Quite methodical, Ray, and I know definitely that has benefited not just your employees, but definitely your customers as well. Again, in terms of with your skeleton workforce, because you have to separate and make sure that you remain that safety being the priority. What were the considerations in terms of serving your customers?
Yeah, so first thing is making sure that all our channels were accessible to our customers. And one of the things that we realized, especially as mobility was now a factor limiting our customers, we needed to make sure that our social media channels, as well as our app channels were firing on all cylinders because we couldn't rely heavily on our email center or our actual call center because it wasn't staffed to normal BAU level. So the first thing is making sure that customers who needed help was able to contact us across the channels that was accessible to them from the home. The second thing was, again, focusing on the service side of the business. So, you know, the repairs, the trouble tickets, the repeat issues, and making sure that we had an omni-channel view. So if a customer was seeking help via the call center, we were able to understand that that same customer was seeking help via the email center. And it could well be the same customer reaching us on social media, Facebook or Twitter. So making sure that based on the number of times our customers are seeking help, based on the number of times they're going through our channels, we start prioritizing those customers in terms of distress, right? So, and distress in the sense that, what is it that we need to do to get their service up and running? And if we cannot go out there because we are limited in terms of the people that are able to go to the home. So our field workforce was severely impacted, and we weren't allowing our workforce to actually go on site to customer homes and buildings because unless they're properly PPE'd, they're for safety reasons for our people as well as to the customer. We made sure that they weren't actually visiting the customer. So we needed to make sure, well, what are alternate ways of helping them? So it could well be providing them with wireless services or solutions as opposed to the fixed solution, for instance. Looking at alternate ways of paying, for instance. So making sure that just to help ease the financial burden on our customers, we've basically allowed the service to be enjoyed on a monthly basis without billing them. So they're the little things that we actually prioritize as part of the lockdown, more so in terms of servicing them. So we weren't doing any upsell or cross-sell, we weren't selling new services. We're basically making sure that the service that they had today was working as promised, especially during ECQ.
Right. Thank you, Ray. I think again, you know, the whole, you know, care component isn't only extended to the employees, but definitely has been extended to your customers as well. And you know, in this whole challenges that we all are faced with, you know, us being a partner in your journey for customer experience, how did we help you with these challenges?
I mean, let me say, I mean, the team's been awesome because, you know, there's no blueprint to how do we operate under this pandemic, right? So it was really a come to Jesus on all sides. And we don't treat you guys as a vendor, we treat you guys as a partner. So really, you know, we knew we were in a crisis mode, and the team was able to man up basically because we were able to get a sense of what was the impact, what did we need to do to get out of it, and what would be the run rate when we get out of it. So some of the things that we actually had was a daily and weekly cadence on understanding, one, the state of the workforce in terms of agent footprint, especially those that were working on our email center, which Inspiro has been predominantly part of the operations. But then also getting a sense of what we'll call the return to work strategy post ECQ. So the team was able to give me what was the current manpower at any given time and what was the successive phases of the lockdown that we needed to go through, so that at what point were we able to get back to BAU. So with Inspiro, I was confident in understanding that, you know, we were operating at 30% capacity. They were able to share with me the plans in place in getting 60% capacity, 70% capacity, all the way up to 90% capacity. And even saying we won't get to 100%, but we have plans in place to actually backfill the attrition. And making sure that there is, as form of redundancy, a percentage of the workforce, Ramel, that's going to stay under work from home. Meaning that despite changes in the government policy of having only 50% of the full workforce on site, we're going to have a redundant workforce just in case if that means that we can only have 50% of the people back on site, meaning that we have a strategy in place in beefing up. Also, Ramel, is the fact that even with the skeletal workforce, we're able to get the key information we needed in terms of what were the volumes that were coming through the channel. You know, what was our handling time? What was our service levels? What was our performance? And the voice of the customer in particular. What is the help needed that they wanted, you know, and getting a sense of what was the new volume as opposed to the follow-up volume, because that all those insights gave us an indication of, one, the level of distress that was coming through the channels, two, understanding what customers were actually calling or emailing us about, and three, prioritizing actually the volume as it goes through so that any critical volume was able to be deflected elsewhere.
Okay, good. And you know, just again, you know, from how you have explained and how we have partnered with you, Ray. I mean, just probably briefly, how was, you know, overall the experience working with our team here?
I'd say awesome. I can go through another crisis knowing full well that there is a mobilized team on the other end being able to help me. And I think we're very aligned. I think the cultures that we have in PLET Smart is aligned with the same values and culture that you have in Inspiro. So it was very easy to actually work together. And it wasn't to do with, you know, we weren't worrying about cost or who's going to fund this and so forth. It was all about making sure that people were healthy, and then we're trying to maintain the customer experience on both fronts. So I think we're very aligned. I like the fact that we're very transparent, you know, as our relationship is. So I don't think there's, you know, we know what we need to do. It doesn't necessarily mean that we don't have fun doing it as well. So I think that's why I think with us, the relationship has moved from the traditional vendor client model to a real partnership model.
Thank you, Ray. I mean, again, goes with, you know, I mean, is it safe to say that, you know, we did meet your expectations during this whole challenging time?
Oh, definitely. Short answer, yes.
Thank you. Any other factors that you think, you know, that have contributed to, you know, how we have, you know, both managed the whole pandemic situation?
I think it made us realize that there has to be flexibility in how we do things, right? There's no right or wrong. There's no playbook. I think if we maintain the same goals, which is people, customer, you can throw away the traditional call center playbook, because ultimately it doesn't work, right? We have to retrofit based on the environment that we're in. And that's easier said than done. You need to have a partner that's also as fluid and agile as the client. So I think that's one thing that we're able to do. And as a result, I'm actually very confident that with Inspiro, we will be back to BAU in a few weeks, without a doubt.
Wow. Again, thank you so much, Ray, for that feedback, and thanks for sharing your experience and how we have collaborated together in terms of you know, how we have faced this pandemic situation. Any other final words to our attendees?
Look, again, at the end of the day, you don't remember the work, but the people, right? In particular, as we go through a health crisis, you don't remember the specifics. So, you know, one of the things that surface up is the way and how people actually man up and get above and actually win. So you know, my take out to the team is that, you know, if you focus on the people and the customer, I think you can never go wrong. So,
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate the time, and I know it definitely helps provide better insights and more, realizations to our attendees. Really appreciate your time spending with us. Thank you.
My pleasure, Romel. Thank you.
All right.